Hello guys and welcome to the Video Marketing Toolkit, the podcast where we discuss all things business, marketing and of course video. My name is Dan and I'm a video first marketer. That essentially means that I help businesses with their marketing strategy and create video for all of their platforms. On today's episode I chat with Andrea and Fred. We get into the nitty gritty about what it's like to run several businesses, how they started in business and where they're at today. We also talk about education, the future of young people and AI. It's a really interesting video with lots of hot topics at the moment and I can't wait to share it with you all. Hope you enjoy the episode. Hi guys, thanks so much for coming down and spending some time with me today. I really appreciate it. Would you like to take the time to introduce yourselves to the people who don't know who you are?
Sure, go on Fred.
Hi, well, lovely to meet you and thank you for inviting us.
No worries.
So I'm Fred Warner. I go by the name in business strategy Fred, and I have a creative channel called Stacks FS, which we run alongside that. We are in M&A. I help businesses with management consulting, advice in growth, scaling and exiting. I'm particularly focused towards helping businesses ready to think about exiting, but I also help businesses grow and go through the challenges of growth.
That's brilliant.
And I co-founded Creative in Time with Andrea, so we'll come on to that later, but that's a marketing agency that we also co-own. And I sort of act as a chairman role in that. And I think my background is that I am sort of technologically based. So I came through aeronautical engineering into Formula One, aerospace, electronics, hydrogen fuel cell, Internet of Things. So I've worked sort of 20 years doing that. And then I've done 5 years now nearly 6 actually, of management consulting, helping businesses. And I don't just help techie businesses anymore, but I grew up and so that's me in a nutshell, I suppose.
That's brilliant. And Andrea, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I didn't come through F1 or hydrogen fuel cells or anything like that. And it's a pretty hard act to follow there.
You can swap the order.
The bar is pretty high now.
You can swap the audio. Yeah. I know.
We'll fix it in the edit, it's fine.
Oh, bless. I run Creative in Time and I've run that for several years now, but I have always run businesses, to be fair, right from a little dot. I've always been interested in helping people scale and get seen and get found, including myself back in the early days. So yeah, that's
brilliant.
That's me in a nutshell.
I think that's a big thing from most people in business as well. They want to help other people.
Yeah.
They want to, they've identified a problem and they want to fix that problem. So I know personally, me as a business owner, that's something I just want to focus down on. So yeah, definitely can relate to that. So where did business start for you guys?
Well, for me, it started probably, I was 12 years old and I was making friendship bracelets.
Oh, wow.
Outside.
Really
and had a little table. Yeah, a little table outside. And so passers-by would come and I would sell my little friendship bracelets. I always had... I just always had that passion to like do stuff or make stuff and sell stuff. I was always quite competitive as well. So I always wanted to make more money, but I am not money focused or money driven, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm maybe just competitive about getting more or getting bigger or getting, whatever, more awareness. But yeah, I started there, but the real kind of business for me started 21 years ago, and I was like a mobile therapist type thing, and I started up by myself, and then for many years I did that, and everybody kept saying that's a good business, that's a good business, and I was like, this is just the thing I do. And and that's
so very sort of like self-found, building things from the scratch, building it from the ground up, and then sort of like keep them striving for more.
Absolutely, covering every element. I'm used to juggling lots of things all of the time, which then, sometimes you just find yourself in those aha moments and go, oh, I run an agency, of course. Like I juggle multiple brands now.
Time.
So
Yeah.
it's your own company plus everybody else's companies. And it's like, oh, it totally makes sense.
And I think that is sort of like something a lot of people can relate to as a startup owner as well, is having to wear all of those hats. You are the accountant, the director, the HR team, like the actual doing the client work. So
it's the massive decision making
constantly making decisions. Have I made the right decision? Is this going to impact me in the long term? Like so many decisions to make. But in a sense, that's why we do it, I think, as well, because it's like, it's that passion behind it, you know.
Yeah.
You get the ability to be your own boss, do your own thing, make those decisions, and hold yourself accountable to those decisions
Yeah, I
as
don't
well.
have to run it past anybody.
You can just
except
go for
me,
it.
which is, I like that.
And how about you, Fred? Where does business start for you?
So I suppose coming through the university route, you kind of end up in what I now call that kind of middle class model, which is going and being prepared for larger companies, being prepared to be a worker, an employee of larger companies. So I went into larger companies. So I worked with companies like General Electric, who are globally huge, Honeywell, many other names, and then smaller companies down to the hundreds, and then sometimes into the like maybe sub 100 sort of range. But that was me. So I came through as an employee, and my goals were at the time to really achieve what I felt my father had achieved, which was to be a director of a company, and that's an employed director, not an owner. And then my journey took about 20 years, and during that time, certainly the last few years, I felt disenchanted with the journey. And I looked around me and I felt, actually, I don't like just being told what to do all the time by other people. I often have a bit of a vision, but I can't do anything with it because I'm always jumping to somebody else's beat. So I knew I had to go on my own journey. And then when I met Andrea, she was already an entrepreneur, and I think that was the start of my journey into owning business and being entrepreneurial. And I wouldn't describe myself as entrepreneurial as Andrea, but that was it for me. So around about 6 years ago, I stepped outside. I had achieved my goal. I'd achieved being a director of a company, a few years, helping a company grow from about 6 million to 10 million and turnover. And so we went independent, and I didn't quite know what I was doing at the time, but that's where the business journey started.
That's amazing. And I feel like a lot of the time you never really know quite what you're doing sometimes. You're kind of just like, okay, so I'm in this position, what's the next step? And obviously, like setting out, you can always set out plans and things like that, but there's so many variable factors all the time, isn't it, that come into it, which is, again, keeps it exciting as a business owner, sometimes too exciting, and that you think like you don't really have much security sometimes, but
it's terrifying, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess, but that's where the strategy comes into it. You want to keep yourself as sort of locked in and sort of secured as you can. So obviously marketing is a big part of business as well. We'll talk about it all the time on this podcast. In fact, I don't stop talking about it, period, full stop. Where did marketing really begin for you guys? Like, where did you first start to think about marketing?
For me, I suppose it was like 17 years old, and you have to market yourself because you're getting your first job.
Yeah.
Potentially. And for me, it was on the CV. And it was to market myself in a different way to make myself stand out. And so I had like marble paper instead, and it was really thick kind of card. And then I had like a really good tagline at the top saying, like some people say I'm like a dog with a bone, but I just prefer to call it tenacious. And so right then, I didn't know that then, but that then for me was like marketing myself.
Yeah.
And then like straight away into that, when you're starting to market a business, say for example, that was probably back when I was about 21, 22. And business cards and logos and, flyers and that type of thing, going, right, how...
It starts building up, doesn't it? You start to think like, right, I need this and then I need
Yeah.
this. Do you know, it's really interesting actually that you say about like marketing as coming back to your first job, isn't it? Getting that first CV, because it's not something that I've really thought about in that way, but it is true. You're selling yourself from the get-go, isn't it? And obviously sales and marketing really like go hand in hand. You're selling yourself, you're marketing yourself. But that's like really interesting. What was your guys' first jobs?
I think my first job, I worked in a telecommunications company. So it was very small, and there was like 3 directors. So it was director heavy. And then there was like the accountant, there was a couple of other people, and there was me at the front of house. And that was like my first. I didn't necessarily enjoy it. I wasn't loving it. I was always quite. I was never outwardly massively confident, and there was a lot of people that were.
Yeah.
So I was quieter and probably got semi-bullied a little bit. So,
I think that's like most people don't enjoy the first job, really. No. Like, I was a Christmas temp at Sainsbury's, and I was in 6th form at the time. And I remember being like really excited to get it. Because like, do you know Swaddling Coat very well?
I know it.
Because it's sort of like, obviously the Sainsbury's is right in the middle.
Okay.
And in my head, it's like, if you work at Sainsbury's, everyone in Swad knows who you are. So I'm kind of like, you're a local celebrity if you're working at Sainsbury's. So like, I was a little bit excited on that sense, but at the same time, I was like, stacking all the shelves, like, it is graft.
Yeah.
And I wasn't really used to it. I was much more used to sitting at my computer, like, in front of a keyboard, rather than like at work stacking the shelves.
That was a proper,
yeah. But it was an eye opener because it gives you that little bit more confidence in an environment that you've never really been in before. Like, you're learning new things, talking to new people and stuff like that. So for me, yeah, it was definitely a learning curve. How about yourself? What was your first job?
Be real.
So my first job was working, I think, in a co-op similar to you, a Summerfield in the centre of the village.
Summerfields. I used to love Summerfields.
And I was about 16. And I would go there on the Christmas and Easter holidays, and I'd have to be there about 5:30 in the morning, and I would like clean all the floors, clean everything. So I was doing cleaning, cleaning out all the in prep for the day ahead. And then before it opened to the general, or as it was opening, I'd be finishing up with all my polishing of floors and everything like that. And I'd stagger back home, still very tired. It was very dark as well, because there's cold Christmas mornings.
Yeah.
So and then I think the next job after that was a kind of cleaning wheelie bins out for Cleanaway, the company. I got a job where I had to use jet washing. I had to cover myself in a boiler suit, and I'd clean these wheelie bins out, often full of maggots and things like that, spraying everywhere.
Real graft, that is.
And then also cleaning down the underside of the the dustbin lorries as they came back in, so they're dripping, stinking, and jet washing those down. And then sometimes painting the bins as well, so painting them, putting new stickers on them so they could go back out to site.
That's the sausage factory as well.
That was later on. Yeah, I did sausage factory.
Oh wow!
So like packing of sausage factories, not for very long. Went to the crisp packet factory. There's one in Leicester, a very well-known branded one. Packing
Walkers.
boxes. yeah. Oh man, I mean those sort of jobs I could only last. The wheelie bins and the washing the lorries down. It was awful graft many ways, but I could do it. The packing. I lasted about a day or two in each one. It was so mind-numbing, and you were literally treated like cattle. Noises made you stop, noises made you start.
Oh, really?
And then I would sleep at night, but I couldn't sleep because all I could see was these things coming down these conveyor belts towards me.
Oh, wow.
So that was pretty horrific experience. So I did that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound great at all.
Yeah, and then in my other summers, as I got older, I got into labouring on building sites. My dad was worked for a building company. He got me a job labouring on building sites. So that was tough graft. Just being chucked in the deep end, just basically being used as cannon fodder by these older people, as you can imagine a young lad is.
In the trenches, doing all the worst jobs.
All the worst jobs, yeah. So that was my experience. But I wanted to earn money. I wanted to earn beer money, really. It was beer tokens.
I think as well, like sometimes, like, I really like a practical job as well, like just getting your hands dirty, getting mucked in, because it's kind of like, although you could get some really awful situations, like obviously it's at the factory that you mentioned, but it's like sometimes, it could be quite therapeutic cleaning down lorries and things like that. Because I remember when I worked in the automotive industry, one of my roles was cleaning the cars before they got photographed. I used to love just pressure washing it. It's a little bit different, but you clean down the car. There were nice cars as well, which had a bonus to it, but it is something like a little bit more therapeutic.
Yeah,
it breaks up your day a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'm the same with mowing the grass. I find cutting the grass very therapeutic. Don't like gardening, but cut the grass.
You do a good job, don't you?
Are you quite lawn proud as well? Is it like a perfect height?
Just
try and get it.
Stand and
I have to admire it every time. Look, everybody look at my lawn. Look, doesn't it look nice?
Do you like it? it?
I'm very proud. And on the marketing journey as well, I thought mine was interesting because I'd come through engineering companies, so I was more in the technology side of companies. And then I was also, I'm a musician, a piano player and singer. And back in my early 20s, I started getting into being in bands. And so my marketing journey started with music, building a wedding band as it was at the time, kind of functions band, and needing a website and needing banners and all that kind of stuff. And then when I went independent and I created my own original band, and so we needed again websites and flyers and creating all these materials, and I wasn't necessarily any good at it, but we were doing it and getting our photos taken, or crap photos taken, and then putting them on sheets and posting them to places, trying to organise that, and doing a MySpace account. I don't know if some people may remember MySpace.
I never had a MySpace, but I do know of it.
Arctic Monkeys, they were one of the biggest names that came through the MySpace platform at the time. That was really their launching ground, in the same way as Ed Sheeran launched through streaming. And so I did all that, and so I gradually learned to build websites, start a social media account. And I wasn't great, but I was quite, a long time ago learning about what hashtags were, using the Twitter accounts. I learned that consistency was the key that I was always failing at, because I wasn't consistent in anything. I started a YouTube account in sort of 2009, and it's still a very small account now. So, it's there. I've just not used it consistently, and I've not stuck to one thing. I keep
You've got so many interests,
jumping around.
Yeah, so I think one thing working with Andrea on marketing side is it's consistency on a thing is the key thing.
And I think it's kind of like, as technology advances, times change, attitudes change. The tools that we use, like Facebook, whether it's MySpace, flyers, that's all like very different. But the one thing is consistency, that you have to stick by no matter what you're doing. It's got to be that constant message that goes out there, doesn't it? Over and over again, like, we are the best band in your area. Like, come and see us, or come and hire us. Like, over and over again. Whether that's on like MySpace, YouTube, or whatever, really. So when it comes to marketing as well, obviously you run the agency Creative in Time, Andrea. How did that begin?
Well, it probably began with Fred, wasn't it? So it began with Strategy Fred, was it?
That's right.
You're probably better with that story.
So if we go back 6 years, I went independent from being a director of a company and employed to saying I want to be an independent management consultant. And I didn't have a totally clear plan, but I know I wanted to help businesses with strategy. So I called myself Strategy Fred. It's come a long way in the last few years. But as I was helping people, so I'm going into companies, I'm offering them advice, I'm helping startups, I'm helping medium size, and I'm still helping through my network. Sometimes, it's some large companies, maybe well over 100 million plus turnover. And they I kept finding that they were struggling with their marketing as one of the byproducts of my sort of support and advice. One of the things I'm looking at, and you've got real marketing issues. And
that always kept coming back up.
It kept coming back up over and over again. And I had experience of it, having built a marketing team in my previous company. And of course, Drea's now marketing her own business all the time. She's fantastic at marketing. She understands SEO, organic ranking, getting traffic to your site. And we just kept talking. And then I started bringing Drea in. I said, well, why don't you come along to me? Just come with me, sit down and start talking to these customers about specifically their marketing. And she did. And that's where it started. Then we started saying, well, why don't we help you with that marketing problem by offering to do that? And at the time, COVID had happened, and we're coming out of COVID, and we had the Kickstarter scheme that the government launched, which meant you could get apprentices. They would support you taking on apprentices and give you some money for equipment and what have you. So we said, let's do it. We took on 2 Kickstarters as marketing executives, and that was the beginning of Creative in Time.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So you kind of just, you had that idea, you had that opportunity, obviously as well through COVID as well, lots of opportunities came up, and you just ran with it, just jumped on it straight away. Let's do it, which is great. Yeah,
I think as well, the business that I was running, because of COVID, like so many experiences that people had, my business was on the ground. There was nothing I could do with it. It was a mobile service, and you weren't allowed to leave your house. So it was very tricky. But when I started attending these meetings, and the one thing that we do really like to do is go to meetings or have meetings where we're both present, because we find that, when one person is talking, the other person is, reading the room, and you can't capture everything all the time by yourself. And so I always find it really interesting where Fred would go maybe do presentations, and in the beginning I was just sitting there listening, watching, seeing what was happening, and I'd be able to come away and go, right, actually, this is what's happening, even though they're saying this and that's saying that. It's
that second pair of eyes and ears as well, which something I guess you don't really think about. But when you're networking, you're right, you're so normally in the moment with what you're doing. Like, for example, if I'm doing interviews with people, I'm locked in doing interviews, then everything else is just sort of happening around me. So that's a really good advantage, like going pairs and networking pairs. Really, isn't
and
it?
It's a really great advantage of working together and supporting each other. And both the ventures with Strategy Fred, I was fully intending just to promote Fred and just to market Fred and everything, and then that's how Creative in Time came about. We're going, well, actually,
and I never got marketed.
And
we're back there now. We're back there now.
I spent years imagine if we had our own marketing team. Imagine what we could do with that.
I know, right?
And then obviously we had to get clients to then make the thing work. So we never really managed to get the full. It's been a journey trying to keep the
It's hard for every
Yeah.
business,
to
you
keep
know, to
everything
keep it
going.
going and to keep, you know, because they're too busy concentrating on their clients that they don't concentrate on their own stuff
That's
as
it.
well. And we're, you know, guilty as charged as well.
So that was sort of my next question. Like, so where is Strategy with Fred? Strategy at Fred, is it called?
Strategy Fred.
Strategy Fred. Where are you guys at with Strategy Fred at the moment?
So it took a little bit of a back step for a while, didn't it? So I launched it and so I've got a lot of depth in project program management as well. So it would be fixing, changing businesses. It might be launching products because I've got a lot of product experience. I've got a lot of experience in making changes to organizational structures, planning ahead. So it would be, some of it in the early days was very much help us, all of our projects are failing, come in and put something in place, set up a PMO or a project management office, put in project managers for us. And then so since that, it sort of, we've been in sort of a flow of what do I want to do out of it. And we've really found ourselves in a more of a niche in the last year where we've invested and also moved into M&A, so which is mergers and acquisitions. But for the most listeners, if we're particularly interested in people that are coming up to retirement age in their business, they're not going to find a lot of SMEs, they're not going to find many buyers out there, and so we're looking to help those people. We'll either help them fix their business up so it's more attractive to buyers, we may even buy in ourselves and may even help them out, and we want to help them on their journey into retirement, because there's a wealth point that if they don't get to take it, they might have 20-30 years of hard work, and
then it's like, what is it at the end?
And it all gets wound down and it just
That's
evaporates, and all those customers that they have just end up having to go and find somebody else, which is a loss of that brand, a loss of that work. So we moved into that in the last year, but I still work on a management consultancy level with companies, helping them go through. We've got these challenges, we're at this stage, and it might be, there are different stages of startups, 1 million, 3, 5, 7, 10, 50, 100, the different stages and the different challenges.
But I think as well, so the piece that brings it all together is with Creative in Time, what we recognised is when I was speaking to business owners, and like we're right there beside them, we're their marketing team.
Yeah.
So we know everything about their business, and what their turnover is, what their profits, what their goals are, everything. And you realize you can help them in a better way with the same information that you already know, because we want to sell the business in 3 years' time. Great, let's reverse engineer that and let's do that.
How do we get to a point of sale first using the marketing and then sell it sort of afterwards?
Precisely.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Yeah, so there's that piece, but then there's the purpose and passion piece, because we're all human beings, right? So we're business owners, but we're human beings, and we have yes, there's these businesses and we run them and everything, but we all have these side things, really love holidays, really love horses, really love whatever it is that's their thing. And that's where the Stacks FS piece comes in as well. And with Fred and with me, because we're on this life journey together and we have a lot of interest, and we just don't think it should be ignored. We don't think that people should be getting to retirement and then going, right now my life starts.
Yeah, it should be happening throughout their life rather than life starts when you're 40 or 50 or something like that, retirement, isn't it?
It's so let's go now, guys. Let's make business easier for yourself. Let's get to an end point where you feel like you're going to have that wealth moment. And in the meantime as well, let's just enjoy life, shall we?
Yeah. Definitely. And I think, do you know what, that ties really well in how I think marketing should be really done, especially social media as well, because it's like you say, people, when it comes to personal branding, people have those other interests, those other sort of aspects of their life. Their whole life isn't just their business.
It's not.
Okay, maybe they put it all into their business, but they are individuals at the end of the day, and people are interested in that. People are interested in people's stories and what they're doing outside of the business. 9 times out of 10, probably a lot more than what they're actually talking about when it comes to their business as well. So I think, that ties in really well together, and how people should be treating themselves online as well.
Yeah, and being able to be yourself.
Just chill out a little bit.
Yeah.
put out there what you want to put out there rather than what you feel like you have to put out there, I think is a good way to approach it.
It feeds very much into the future of this personal brand growth that people talk about. And, it's obviously a bit of a hot word for a lot of people, but it seems that the future really holds, and if you look at the big figures in the world that are dominating the press and the media, and right now at this moment in time, we've got Trump, we've got Musk, we've got Bezos, we've got Zuckerberg, and they're dominating people's phone screens, right? They're not businesses. We all know that they own businesses, and we all know that they've got lots of stuff, but it's not the businesses that are getting the limelight, it's the people. And I think that's the big shift. We went through the big corporate age, the organizations, the Fords, all the family company names, but now it's about people. So when you go on your journey into 2025 and beyond, you've got to bring all of you into that personal brand. And otherwise, people don't know what they're connecting with. Because if you're just a one-trick pony, I do a thing, then that's not really of interest to people because that's not who you are. And I think one of the things about purpose is, well, why are you doing this? And how can you move towards what you really want to be doing? Because often when you dig into people, they're often doing things they don't even like doing. Why are you doing it? Well, I don't even know. Just because I am.
Waiting for
and
that
I don't know how to
retirement
change.
fund as well.
Waiting for the retirement.
Waiting for that cash out at the end, basically.
How depressing.
And,
Couldn't do it.
and retirement is fundamentally for workers. Retirement is for employees. It was designed that people got put into a system where they could go to factories and they could work for a life until a point where they're too old to do it, and so you gave them a rest at the end. That's what retirement is.
You've done your bit for us, and then that's it. That's retirement. Yeah.
Whereas the new world needs to be people realising that it's not the word retirement needs to evaporate and disappear. It's when are you going to be financially free so that you can choose how to live your life. And when you're financially free, you can be at 25 if you're Mark Zuckerberg, and then he chooses to run Facebook. He didn't have to carry on doing it. It's his personal choice. But if you're always beholden to the next paycheck because you can't pay your bills without the next paycheck, then you're not financially free. So that's, I think, a really, really big change that we'll have to see in society in the next 10 years, 15 years, is the word retirement question.
Yeah.
And I think that's so true. I think it's really enlightening and putting it that way as well, because it's kind of like the younger generation are like, even younger than me, but like even my generation as well, but in every generation really, there's that more hunger to do stuff that you enjoy and not settling for less. Like obviously I look at my parents, like obviously they've worked really hard all their lives, but they were very fine with just sitting in a job, calling it a job, and then going home afterwards. Where nowadays people happy to invest more into a job that they enjoy, but they won't settle for just being in that sort of loop until you retire, basically go into that factory until you can't work in there anymore. And people are a lot younger just like getting onto that now, which is like, I guess attitudes are changing, social media changes people's perceptions as well, and like you say, people are looking to these big individuals that have got that freedom to spend as much as they want, and they're sort of craving that as well, aren't they?
They're craving that, but they want it now.
Yeah.
And that is not going to happen.
That is
Not
really
at
the pain.
Yeah.
We didn't expect when we were younger to have a Ferrari at 21 years old.
Yeah.
I did imagine having a Aston Martin by the time I was 30.
You wrote a song about it.
Yeah, and it was written. I wrote it to a lyric of a song. I think I had a Nissan Primera GT at the time. It wasn't quite the Aston Martin, but yeah, it's the instant gratification thing is a challenge. But anyone can achieve anything, and the younger generation are pushing back, and and fair play, because there's going to be a new wave of the digital world's coming, and it's changing everything. It's changing everything faster than the education systems can keep up with. I personally believe the education system is 20, 30 years behind where it needs to be.
Yeah.
And no one's changing it. The stuff being taught to kids on a day-to-day basis is almost pointless because everything they're being taught can be sourced off GPT, off AI within 3 or 4 seconds. It's of no purpose. Knowing how to access knowledge and knowing how to apply it in your life to have a good life and use it to be the person you want to be, that's the key. It's knowledge applied is
how to use the tools out there rather than just getting that raw knowledge to begin with.
I described it to my son the other day as, why would you go down to the river and wash all your clothes in the river when you know you can use a washing machine? Right? It's the same with AI and GPT, which I know we're going to come on to in a bit, but it's, why would you do a load of work that you no longer have to? We now have microwaves to do something that used to take half an hour to cook. We've invented stuff to make life easier, and that's what AI is.
So you mentioned Creative in Time, that you brought on 2 apprentices. And we've mentioned a lot about how, younger people are changing mindsets and stuff like that. Did you come across any issues, or did you notice anything when building your team about younger people at the moment?
No, not really. I think it's just people in general. I wouldn't say we had some very dedicated, and we were quite lucky to begin with. With the staffing,
Yeah.
they applied themselves. I really enjoyed the early days as well because I was teaching them. They were kind of teaching me, and we were all like learning together. And we made it very. It was imperative that maybe every Friday I was like, right, now I want you to go out online and I want you to find the best things that you can find, like the most interesting stories or the most brilliant marketing and everything like that. And so we enjoyed those times. It was very fast paced. They had to keep up with me. I'm very, like, I suppose we talked before
Want to get stuff done straight away, which is
we
great.
talked about even just this podcast, the kind of thing. I don't like to hang around, and so I was very lucky with the staffing. I didn't learn anything detrimental. I would say that as time has gone on, the more staff you have in, and the more demands that you have, and changes. You definitely learn things, but I don't think necessarily like those young people don't work hard enough.
That is a bit of a stigma as well. But then there's also, it's like the flip side of that is that, they're born into a world with internet straight away. So obviously, like, my generation was like internet just sort of started, so we got like the raw end of internet where it was like lawless, and then like there's this whole like AI generation now. So it'd be interesting to see how, like, once the new people who came out of the education system in a world of AI, how sort of they respond to it as well. I think that'll be
interestingly, we
interesting.
did have one comment when we were looking into AI, because Fred and I were both like, we're going to get on this. Like right when it was coming, we were like, we're not going to mess around because we know it's going to be here. It's coming. It's going to be here. We don't want to be last to adopt this. But we did have one person say, I refuse.
Oh, really?
To do anything with that. Like, and that really, we both, whoa.
Like,
and that was like a
ethically,
really
sort of.
young person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That was a younger person. So we found that, and I was going to say, so in terms of that person, so the people adopting AI fastest are the 40 to 50 year olds.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So younger people will start, but the people that are entrepreneurial, and this is something that's a bit of a surprise, it's okay. And I used to think it's like, because you get blasted with the Zuckerbergs and these people that start really young. The reality is most people work through a job for a period of time in their life and at some point decide to have a go at doing something themselves when they've got a lot of knowledge, when they've got a trade or something that they can do and offer as a service, so there's that journey through life. So it's not actually that normal to be this entrepreneur in your early 20s trying to break out and make a unicorn company. So the ones that are really easy to talk to about AI, even if they're a bit slow on the maybe pick up, will be the older generation. And we found with some of the younger ones, they were thinking almost insulted, like, well, no, I am not going to try this. You've employed me to create content. I'm writing this content. And so there are that kind of resistive types of people. And on the point of younger people and bringing them into the workplace, one of the things I did notice, which was unusual, I didn't use a computer, a PC, properly until I went to university, because before that it was really kind of some early stage computers, maybe BBC computers, and then some early stage PCs. But people coming out of school, they're really used to using their mobile phones. So they're used to using apps, and give them a mobile phone and they can use every app on it.
Yeah.
But give them a laptop and say, can you use Excel to create me a spreadsheet? Can you use PowerPoint to create a presentation? Can you use Word to write a document? And that's quite interesting that a lot of those skills are totally missing. So it means that for some reason they're not leaving the schooling system knowing how to use the tools that businesses use.
That actually set them up to what they will use in the next stages.
Yeah, they're used to using their mobile phones, and of course mobile phones have use, but not always in the business environment.
And then again, I think he was probably talking about the education system there as well, by not like getting, I think we had like business studies, but we were talking about this on the dinner table, but we had business study classes back in the day, but I pretty much started on a typewriter and then we moved to kind of computers. I mean, I'm very old. And then and you would like learn how to write a letter, and that was about it. Like, I don't think I got much more from it.
You get the very basic of everything. They're never almost too scared to touch into anything too deeply. So you get a little bit of everything.
They don't talk about life application.
Yeah.
So they don't. I always thought, trying to teach kids that are not interested in maths to say, well, with maths, you can work out what your wealth's going to be. You can work out how fast this car's going to be driving at this speed using all these different things. You can work out whether or not a plane can stay in the sky. But there's no application. It's all theoretical knowledge not applied. And in reality, our life is full of, I have to pay bills, I have to pay credit cards. What's this interest rate going to cost me if I take out this one versus that one? And if I pay this off earlier, what's that going to impact me by? And nobody gets taught any of that. They just get
not
taught
a single
maths.
Not a single thing.
Ounce of anything. No one ever mentioned a credit card to me when I was in school.
Getting a mortgage, getting a pension, getting all the stuff that we need to do in life. We don't get taught. But we get taught a bunch of subjects that most people don't actually need. Now, yes, there's some interesting stuff in it, and I'm not devaluing it, but it's the lack of application of knowledge that comes in
thank God I learned about pi. It's
I've
learned that so much. I use that every day since I learned that. Like, it's crazy. Like, I 100% agree with you. It's like, not that this episode, is about bashing the education system, but you're 100% right that people aren't be given the tools to go into jobs, which I guess is why it's really important, like in that recruitment process as well, when you're building your team, is it like finding the skills that people have or before they get into the role, and also identifying who's going to got the willingness to learn and, like you say, apply those actual skills that they have learned. So when it comes to like building a team, what do you think is the most important aspects of building the team?
I think we are really heavy on recruiting to our values. Our values are fundamental to our life, really, not just in business, but about who we choose to surround ourselves with on a wider scale. And so having people who are intelligent, obviously, that's really quite high up there. But our values are what makes us and is the culture of the company. And so I would say that's right up there for me. Because personality is everything, and just like a willingness and proactivity and excitement. Yeah, I love excitement. I love it when people are like, let's do this and let's have this idea. I mean, and that's that's why I married this one as well, because all the ideas.
And I think that is a really important bit as well. It's like having those ideas, and then even if they've got a little bit of understanding about everything from what they've got at school, maybe, and then like how do then I apply it to the idea that I want to do. Because I imagine that a lot of the time it's kind of like you learn a little bit of everything, but then it's kind of like, what, you're just left without that spark to just go forward then, are you? You're missing that extra little thing.
One of the things I find really important about building a team, and it's all about knowing your stage of your journey, alongside the values piece, but as a business or where you're at, what stage are you at? If you're a very small company, getting someone who's worked in a very large company, who's been pigeonholed into a certain kind of, you do these few things over and over again every day, and putting them into an entrepreneurial environment where you have no structures and you don't have that around you, they will struggle often. So there's a different kind of person that suits an early startup, and then as they grow through the phases, actually different kinds of people suit it, and that's okay. In my view, it's like, just be okay with the fact that some people grow a business and recognize by the time it's only 1 or 2 million turnover that they're no longer the right person to lead it. They need to employ someone to lead it for them, because they're not actually, that's not going to be their skill set to grow it any further. Some people, there's a few unique people. I think Jeff Bezos was a unique person that would manage to go through a startup phase and right through to finishing it being at mega billions. That's really unusual. So knowing what kind of people you want to have in your team. And the other thing I think is being okay with the fact that you can't get it right. And if I help people with anything, it's like, don't try and hang on to people that aren't right for you. Either they don't meet your values, maybe they're not capable enough to do what you need them to do, and maybe they're not the right kind of mindset. Somebody that needs a lot of structure suits going into a bigger business. Someone that likes no structure suits an entrepreneurial company. So if you've not got the right kind of person, be prepared to let them go. But everyone seems to, particularly in the UK, they try and make it work, just keep trying to make it work, and they often end up killing the business in the process.
I think as well, getting the right people in the right seats is really important, because sometimes you can have brilliant people, but their role and what they've maybe you've got them signed up to do is just not quite working.
Yeah.
Where you could be getting something far better from them in a slightly different role. So you could just let's move you over here because you're going to excel at that because you're customer focused or you're this or you're that, but you're just not down for the numbers or you're not down for that type of thing. So making sure you've got the right people in the right seats as well.
So I guess in that sense you have to be quite fluid with it, because you might employ one person who's come for one job just because obviously they're looking for a job, but then actually you're really good at front of house and customer facing. So why have I got you doing this when I'd much rather hire someone else to do that, and I'll put you where it works?
Yeah.
You bring me onto a subject which I've never really delved greatly into, but it's a subject of interest to me, and that's kind of, I call it resource amnesty, which is perhaps a bit of a complicated way of saying, how can you get out of people what they're bringing into the workplace that they're not showing you?
Yeah.
So I used to feel many years ago, I'd turn up to a place, I was very unhappy there, and I felt like I left most of me at the front door, and only a small part of me was allowed in the front door and went into the workplace. If you can bring out of people, so well, I've given you this job, right, and you've currently got this job, but what are you good at as a person? And if you knew that about a workforce and said, actually, it turns out that we'll swap these two over and we'll move these around and we can create a better team. And I think it's a bit like being a football manager of a football team. And I often use it as a scenario with even like large businesses, saying, right, if you've got 3 left wingers and you're short a right back and a right winger, sticking the left wingers on the right back and right winger isn't your approach. You need to take but often when you and I'm helping a company at the moment going through some restructuring, ideas, that you've got to look at what you need, not necessarily trying to obsess about, you've got to stick with what you've got and make it work. And so that's one of the key parts is, getting the right people in the right seats and being prepared to say, so at some points along your journey, some people are no longer going to be the right person for your team. There gets to the point where, and it's okay. If you think it's okay, as long as everyone deals with it professionally and people then get a chance to go on and do other things and, it's right for the business.
I think that highlights a really good point as well, especially what you say about someone in the wrong position isn't necessarily going to enjoy that position. They're just showing up to work. They're demoralised. And I think when you look at that from a marketing perspective as well, when nowadays it's more important than ever, things like employee-generated media, you need an office environment that is like upbeat. Everyone's doing their job because everyone wants to get involved. Yeah. You can then use that to market your company that this is a fun place to work and fun people to work with. Yeah. However, if everyone is in a position that they really don't want to be in, they're demoralised, they don't want to put in the extra effort like creating marketing material, and you're losing out on that whole other side of someone that wants to muck in and be part of that company environment, then, aren't you? It's a whole aspect of someone that just withers away, like.
And it's and that's not nice to watch either. Just as a human being from one to another, you want people to thrive. You want to get the best out of them for themselves as well. So yes, it's like a cycle of events. But I think yes, it's important for the business, and yes, it's important for the person, and then merge them two together, and you got magic. Definitely. I think.
And I think it's people that are important that drive a business, really, at the end of the day. It's the people in it. Like, it's a huge part of it. It's like, what it keeps the wheels turning. Yeah. It's the whole reason to be there, isn't it, really? So.
And I think that's where the values piece kick in, because again, the larger companies, they create values to please shareholders. And they stick them on their website and company. Their company business cards on the wall, and they don't apply it. Yeah. And I learnt it from an American book called Traction, and it's a very interesting book, especially if you're an entrepreneur. It's a great book. But it was where you actually apply them in your business, you manage people to them, and I help people consider how they performance manage people to values, and also hire and fire to them. Assess people's values as they're coming in, and the ones that are generally going to be the ones that don't suit your workforce and place, nearly always you'll find it's a value problem. And when you start identifying that, you can performance manage it, you can guide people through, and ultimately if they can't meet your value and you say, well, this is my business value, and it might be being decent towards your colleagues, then we're going to have to part ways because you can't fall in line with our values. And that helps you build that environment, that buzz. Is that when people are all aligned, it's because they probably share, they've got a clear path, the purpose. We talk about
the vision.
They know where they're going. They're not confused. Like, why are we doing this?
Because it's come from the top up, isn't it?
They've got a clear direction, and they're motivated because they've got the right kind of people around them. They're all vibing off each other.
It's that culture, isn't it? Everyone's working together. Yeah. Everyone's gelling. It's not like people are dragged into that position, and they're not feeling like they're being beaten to work or something like that. They want to be there.
Horrible.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine working in a place like that
No.
or running a place like that, to be honest.
No.
And it can be because generally based off the owners, right? So some places want to be a high upbeat place, but if you're a particularly, migrant person that says, I don't like being happy and I want to build a business that just does this stuff and gets it out of the way, then the chances are the workforce that's going to suit that person is people more like them. And the culture is, not being overly joyful and just getting stuff done.
Everybody knows they've got to just show up and then do the stuff and go home. But at least they're all doing that together, sort of thing, and they're happy doing
expectations of, but you should be doing this, even though I'm not.
And if you're a grumpy person, that might suit you fine. And if you want a high upbeat place, you need to get yourself out of that environment and take yourself to one that suits you.
Because some people might not like the big ball pit and the slide in the office and things like that, but some people do like
I'd
that.
still be up for that.
But not everyone
some
likes
people
that
be like, this is
kind of
ridiculous. Let's all do some proper work.
Yeah, literally. It's that,
I'm
I
like,
guess,
yes.
once you're in the right place for you, that's the main thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right. It's horses for courses, as they say,
Every podcast that I do, I have some quick fire questions. Now, they're not the most craziest, most thought-profounding questions in the world. Some of them are pretty basic, but I like to ask them to everyone just to get people's ideas on them. And try and take the questions as like the first thing that comes into your head. Don't think too much into it. Just like off the top of your head, however you perceive these questions is the best way to answer it, I find. There's no rules to them. And we also don't have to go through it really quickly as well. Like, I'm not going to shout the questions at you like rapid, and it's like all pressure on. So just take it a bit at a time. So our first question is, what is your favourite marketing campaign you've ever seen?
Andrea?
Got an idea? Favourite campaign? I really like the Currys and the Aldi ones.
Okay.
They're so good. They're so good. They're so real.
Yeah.
They take the new age into the old age. They're fun. Like Aldi, when they do all their Twitter stuff and all the digital things, the pieces, they're so cheeky. They're so sarcastic. They're so fun.
There was the big, was it Cuthbert the
Cuthbert the caterpillar? Yeah.
Well,
I mean, and it just goes on and on. There's, the brew doggy type thing. There's the, they just don't stop. Yeah.
A lot of people have said that actually who I've had on, which is great. So
really?
Aldi are killing it at the moment.
Aldi are killing it. But yeah, Curry's brilliant. Love it.
Curry's as well. And the Gen Z getting
like
Gen
they're
Z
swiping
scripts.
the things. And can I, for like one day delivery or something, like you could just take it now.
They are really smart. Really smart.
Very smart.
How about yourself?
Well, I was thinking as we went going, I was like, I knew she's going to take the curry stuff because it is quite. I know. I think I found it and I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Going back in the day when TV was much more of a thing, the adverts there would be funny. So I think like sometimes they old Carling beer adverts, and you'd have all kinds of like jokey stuff where there were squirrels crawling along like James Bond type stuff. Remember those type of adverts? I used to like those campaigns on TV that were just making it kind of fun. And a little bit like the Budweiser adverts used to be quite big back in the day. I remember the one with the three frogs, and one would sort of croak Bud, and one croak Wise, and one croak and it was a while before you realised they were making the sound.
Beer as well.
And they were just fun because once you'd seen it, you were just sort of chuckling to yourself. And I think so. Like it's making you laugh a little bit. I think really fun.
Things like the Cadbury's advert with the monkey and the gorilla and the that was a big one. Things like it was like John Smith's. I always think had some like strange adverts. I think as well. I can't remember how the exact played out, but John Smith sticks into my head for that. Or like Tango, the Tango Man, wasn't that a thing as well?
Tango, yeah. And there'd be the wine gum adverts with the moose loose about this here.
But I think you're right. Humour, like really quick, fast-paced humour, little skits was like a really like focus point, wasn't it? Brilliant. Question number 2. What is your most favourite viral video?
He's gonna be like, I don't know.
So it could be like YouTube, TikTok. I'm thinking mainly social media, but again, TV could also roll into it.
I don't know. Do you know what? With regards to like viral stuff, I really liked the where there was like a singing voice over it, and it was like, "I'm looking for a man in finance,"
Yes.
like that. And
was good.
I saw a company use it, so they had an older guy who was like the owner of the company, and then they had obviously the marketing team getting him to be sitting there, put the glasses on, and he was the man in finance, 6 foot, like the blue eyes, all that kind of thing. And I thought that was brilliantly done. I think they did that amazingly.
Yeah, I think that was like summer last year. That was like the big sort of thing. DJs ended up remixing it and playing it at festivals and all sorts.
Yeah,
So it really did
I love
blow
that.
up. Brilliant. So the next question: if you had to live on a desert island and you could only have 3 things, what are you taking with you?
Piano,
Oh,
because
good
I
one.
always play the piano. I mean, I don't know how big this desert island.
Okay, don't even start, because they'd be like,
Probably
Is it
a
this?
V8 convertible to drive around the desert island in.
Drive around the desert island with some
And a
suitable
gas
tyres,
station.
obviously, and enough petrol.
And then probably a mountain bike to
Oh, wow.
use in between when I'm not using the V8 convertible.
Brilliant.
Or
Just
playing the piano.
exploring the island and playing the piano.
Yeah.
Brilliant. How about yourself?
I'd probably take something that has a functionality to listen to tons of podcasts, because I love it.
Your Walkman with it all downloaded
absolutely
onto.
everything, all the podcasts in the world. I'd take that. I'd probably take like a puppy dog or something, so that I could have a friend there, because it's like a thing rather than a person, because otherwise I would take you, obviously.
You might need to take a pair of puppies so that you can make more puppies.
Maybe, like a pair of puppies.
Set up a business on the desert island.
Like a new desert island.
New desert island
Who wants a
business.
puppy? Me.
Just all those people that are there.
Yeah, and a ton of food. Just loads of food.
That's practical as well.
Yeah,
You
I'm
make
very-
the food.
Yeah.
I think, do you know what? No one's ever actually asked me the reverse question of this. So I'm kind of put on the spot now,
Yeah, go
actually. But I think I have like a horrible addiction to pizza. So I'll probably take some kind of ingredient with me to make pizza.
Okay.
Otherwise, some kind of like desert island pizza with like a stone or something.
Okay.
Maybe I make the stone
Nice
bake
stone,
oven.
yeah, nice.
But then again, I'd probably take my camera as well, because that is literally, I'm always taking photos, always taking videos and stuff. So I want to capture whatever I find on this island. But the last thing, it's difficult. Probably. I'm really been put on the spot now.
How dare you, Fred?
I would
Quick fire question round.
I would. It never happens the other way back. I never get
Does
hit
now.
back with it.
The
But I'll
marketing-
probably take. I'll download as much TikTok as I can onto a phone, just so I could sit there scrolling, because a lot of my downtime, unfortunately, is just sitting there scrolling, like trying to disconnect from everything. I might not even be looking at what's on the screen, but it's just that action of just like of scrolling through.
Wow.
So I think that's what I'd take with me.
Open and honest about it.
Pizza, camera, and then just scrolling through TikTok when I have my downtime. So my next question is: Lidl, Tesco, Asda, Morrison, Sainsbury's, or Waitrose?
Aldi.
Which we've already discussed. You're a big Aldi fan.
Yeah, Aldi.
Yeah, it was same Aldi. I
Yeah.
think because of location, we went to
Yeah.
Aldi first, where it was near us. And once you discover those shops, I used to go in and think every time I went in Tesco's, I'd spend 50 quid on
Oh
about
my
4
gosh,
things.
yeah.
And then you get to Aldi and get like a whole, this is going back a while, but get a whole weekly shop for it. Now it's, at least doubled in price since COVID, everything has.
Yeah.
But it's still staggeringly cheaper than the others.
Yeah.
I always get quite smart at trying to work out what the pricing structures are, because they try and fool you into thinking that the bigger things are cheaper.
Yeah.
And
Or
so it's
like, is
looking
it
at-
up? Is it the up sticker and it's there, or is it the one below it? I never know.
Are you better off buying individual bananas or packs of bananas like grouped together? And
Yeah.
one shop they sell bananas by weight, and Aldi sells bananas by the individual. So you have to pick the biggest bananas in Aldi to get your best pound for your buck.
But you don't have to worry about it too much, because you don't really like going shopping at all, do you? Anyway,
We both go shopping now.
every now and then.
I'd agree with you. Aldi and Lidl, big fan of them, but Sainsbury's, I feel like it runs in my blood having that first,
really?
that first job
That
there.
first job there.
I do really like Sainsbury's, but I do try, because it's just so expensive.
Expensive
That's the
taste,
thing.
yeah.
It is just really expensive. Like, you could do a full, like, buying like one meal costs you like 20 quid, whereas if you go in Lidl, it's like 10, like
Yeah.
5.
I don't think we could afford it, could we? I don't think we could afford it.
During
No.
COVID, when COVID hit, we were Brassic.
Yeah,
We were like grateful for Aldi being affordable.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
And what I love about it is that Aldi and Lidl are getting more and more popular. Like back in the day, it used to be a bit of a stigma behind it. And it's like, oh, you're going to Lidl, but it's like, actually, they're the popular brands, especially when you look at the marketing and social media and stuff. Like
It
everyone's
just goes to show
loving
you
it.
how important it is.
And Lidl Bakery is.
Yeah.
I remember, and this showing my age, when Tesco was considered the same way. Tesco was a cheap shop.
Really?
Cheap
A
shop,
long time ago, and they were just seen as this cheap value tacky thing, and then they built the whole modern, what people see as the modern Tesco brand.
Because Tesco's the biggest out of the big four, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like massive,
Yeah, they
one
built
stop
Monster.
and
They've done well.
like crazy. Brilliant. So what were your guys' favourite product of 2024?
Products.
Well, your single favourite product. So it could be a new product. It could be something that you've sort of always like used, and then it's a little bit underrated, but you think actually this is throughout my life, like constantly. But what is your favourite product of 2024?
I'm not a consumer, so I'm not the one to ask because I just don't buy stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Favorite product of 2024.
You got one? This is gonna be a hard one for
Yeah.
us. I mean,
No, can you give me some ideas? That seems
Yeah.
good
It
to
always
say.
just stump people, but I say it could be the easiest one to think of, I think, is something new that you found last year and you thought, wow, this is actually really cool.
we haven't got one, but the air fryers. The ninjas,
Yeah, we've not bought into one yet.
I've saw them, and we go around to people's houses, and they cook for us, and all that kind of thing. And we keep thinking about getting one,
Yeah.
but no, I'd probably say that was a cool one to
It's like
aspire
that
to.
thing where you go, oh yeah, this is nice. What you do? And they go, well, I've just put it in the air fryer, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, we got an air fryer. It's
So
like
cool.
definitely,
Fancy.
yeah, I love them as well. They're so much easier to use. You can just like bang, whack them in, sorted.
Wait,
Yeah,
nope.
no, it's a tricky one. It really
No.
is a tricky one. I mean, sometimes I'm thinking that it's whether or not it's a product, but it's a service. The advances in ChatGPT and how you can use it on a day-to-day basis,
Yeah.
and the more things you can do. I've been enjoying building GPT models, so actually loading knowledge into it, training it, telling it how I want it to speak,
Like nurturing it through.
nurturing it to be a point where I can get somebody else to type in questions and it'll answer in my thing. And I think we saw where people are now creating AI versions of themselves so they can see a video of the person like speaking to them. And so you could potentially load all your knowledge into an AI model, and people can interact with you or your knowledge and feel like it's your voice, it's you speaking.
But via proxy sort of thing.
By proxy, yeah. So you can scale your knowledge. You could leave behind yourself. That one of the things I think is yet untapped, but will be coming, will be, who will be leaving behind AI versions of themselves to carry on as long as they can into the future.
And people always say, I can't be in 7 places at once.
Yeah.
But with AI,
You can.
potentially
Certainly
you can
can,
be. You
yeah.
can
I
leave
could be-
yourself in places.
If we're doing it with, let's say, what we do on advising businesses, if I load all the knowledge up, I might be able to advise 2,000 businesses instantly at the same time.
Which would be crazy.
Yeah.
That would be brilliant.
Yeah.
I think my favourite product is probably a lot boring for some people, but I really like the standing desk. And it's not really, it's probably something that probably
I've
came
got one.
around
Yeah.
COVID, and I don't really use it so much for standing, but what's it enabled me to do is create like a studio that's on my desk. So when I
Nice.
bring it up, I can stand up and make my videos at my desk.
Yeah.
And like it's all part of the same studio, so I've
Yeah.
got lights attached to it.
Oh, that's
so I've now
good.
become this obsession of just attaching things to my desk. What more can I just make go up and down like with it?
Brilliant.
Love
And it's
that.
become like this Swiss Army knife of a standing
That's
desk now.
perfect, isn't
You
it?
have to
So,
put
like-
some pictures out on social
Yeah.
media.
No, I've got some pictures of it, so I might put some on
Yeah.
LinkedIn. But it's kind of like it's got like a tripod built on it. It's got lights built off of it, and it's just become like this, like my
brilliant.
toolkit.
You have to put up all the products that you've got on it so everyone else can buy them and do
Yeah.
that for
Yeah.
themselves.
I could do it like
you.
a TikTok little click the
Yeah.
what was it? Click the yellow basket
Shop,
below
yeah.
and shop now.
Yeah.
Buy this now. So guys, thank you so much for chatting with me. I hope the quickfire questions wasn't too much pressure to
You're
run
all
through,
right.
because they actually caught me off guard this week actually when you spun it around on me. But thank you so much for coming in, speaking about your team, about AI. I think some really valuable information in there. Do you have any final words you want to talk about to the audience, or just let the audience know before you guys head off?
Do you know what I find, and I'm going to go more and more into in my future, is people knowing their purpose. So if you're not sure and you're procrastinating and you're struggling with what to do in life, you've got to figure out your own why, which is like, describe your purpose and your ambitions and your goals, where you want to be, and then work out where you want to go from there. Because often you'll find where you're at isn't where you want to be. So the only way out is to work out where do you want to be, and get specific, because when you write down specific, it's hard. And so when you write it down specifically, then you can start to reverse engineer where you want to go. So that's often people's greatest challenge.
That was amazing. I think that's some really sound advice in helping people move forward there. Have you got anything that you want to mention before we head off?
Yeah, like be good and being yourself. That's the one tip of advice that I would give, and it's something that anybody that I speak to, the thing that they're most worried about is putting themselves out there or being themselves, or what are people going to think. You came into this world alone, you're going to leave alone, really. So it doesn't matter. Just be you, because that is the thing that people most find intriguing and enjoy watching and enjoy learning. And that is in your business as well. So, yeah.
Sound better than advice. Thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you for having us.
As always, all of their socials are going to be down in the video description below. Go and check them out. And always, we like to take the conversation online to LinkedIn. So follow us on LinkedIn, and I'm sure we can chat to everybody else and keep this conversation going there as well. Thank you so much.